Night has fallen softly upon the world. The day has exhaled its final breath, and the sky now stretches wide and quiet, a canvas brushed with stars and grace. The noise has quieted. The rhythm of life has slowed. And now at last, it is time to rest. You've given your energy, your thoughts, your kindness, and your strength to the world today. Now, this sacred hour belongs to peace, to stillness, to God. In this tender moment of night, as the world settles, God invites you to settle too. He calls you to lay down not just your body, but your burdens, to rest not only your mind, but your soul. He whispers gently, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." You don't have to earn his peace. You only need to receive it. Tonight, let yourself be carried by his calm. Let his presence surround you like a soft blanket, warm and secure. Take a deep breath and release the weight you've been holding. Let go of the conversations replaying in your mind, the unfinished tasks waiting for tomorrow, the worries you can't fix right now. They are not yours to carry through the night. God already holds them, and he holds you. 2. Each inhale is grace. Each exhale is surrender. You are safe here, in the arms of the one who never sleeps, who never forgets, and who never lets go. The world outside may still move, but within you, peace begins to rise. Like a calm river, it flows gently through your heart, washing away the noise of the day. You are stepping into sacred stillness, the space where God speaks not through thunder, but through whispers. Here, his love is near enough to touch. His peace is closer than your breath. If you listen closely, you can almost hear his gentle voice. Be still and know that I am God. These words are not a command of silence. They are an invitation to rest, a reminder that even in stillness, you are not alone. The Lord fights for you in ways unseen. He stands beside you when you are weary. He carries you when you cannot carry yourself. So, let go. Loosen your grip on everything you tried to control today. The plans that didn't unfold the way you hoped. The expectations that left you tired. The moments that bruised your heart. God's wisdom reaches beyond your understanding, and his love extends beyond your strength. You can rest in that truth. You can rest in him. As the night deepens, imagine his presence filling the room around you. A soft, golden light radiates from his spirit, wrapping you in warmth and peace. The light doesn't demand it comforts. It reminds you that you are seen, known, and loved exactly as you are. You don't have to hide your flaws or silence your pain. God welcomes you in your imperfection. He calls you beloved, not because you have done everything right, but because his grace has made you whole. Let that grace sink in. You don't need to try harder to be loved by him. You are already enough. His mercy flows freely, covering every moment of failure, every shadow of guilt, every crack of self-doubt. It fills the empty spaces within you, mending what's been broken. In His grace, you are complete. In His presence, you are home. Now, breathe again slowly. Feel the stillness resting gently upon your shoulders. Hear the quiet rhythm of your heart. It beats in time with the peace of God. This peace is not fragile. It does not come and go with circumstances. It is steady, eternal, unshaken, even when the world feels heavy. His peace remains, and tonight, He is giving that peace to you. You may have felt burdened or restless before coming here, but that restlessness is not stronger than God's comfort. You may have felt unseen or unheard, but God has been watching you tenderly through every hour of the day. He knows the thoughts that stir your mind as you try to sleep. He knows the heaviness that you cannot put into words, and yet He speaks gently to your heart. I am here. Imagine yourself by calm waters, the kind David wrote about when he said, He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters. He restores my soul. The water shimmers softly in the moonlight, and the air feels light and clean. You are not striving anymore. You are simply resting, surrounded by His creation. Covered in His peace, you can hear the shepherd's voice, steady and kind, guiding you to stillness. His presence melts away fear. His love dissolves anxiety. Every part of you begins to unclench. Every burden begins to lift. God is not distant tonight. He is close enough to hold. In this stillness, remember that you don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to fix what feels broken. You simply need to be here, resting in the truth that God is already at work in the unseen places of your life. He is healing, guiding, restoring, and preparing what you cannot yet see. And even in your weakness, His strength is being made perfect. If you've stumbled today, if you've fallen short, if your heart feels weary, know that His mercy renews every morning. You are never too far gone to be reached by His love. You are never too weak to be held by His strength. God delights in meeting you here, not in perfection, but in surrender. As you lie in the quiet of the night, feel His comfort drawing near. The same hands that formed the stars are the ones holding you now. The same Spirit that calmed the raging sea now calms the waves of your heart. There is no chaos too great for His peace, no darkness too deep for His light. Let this moment be your sanctuary, a holy space between you and the Lord. You are free to rest, free to release, free to breathe again. With each breath, let gratitude rise within you. Thank Him for this stillness. Thank Him for the blessings hidden in today, the laughter that brightened your hours, the strength that carried you through challenges, the love that met you in unexpected ways. Even the struggles have shaped your spirit and drawn you closer to grace. Whisper softly in your heart, thank you, Lord, for this moment of peace. Thank you for watching over me when I was too tired to keep going. Thank you for your endless mercy and love. As those words linger, imagine them lifting toward heaven. carried on the calm air of night. God receives every quiet word. He cherishes every prayer. No matter how small, even your sighs are sacred to him. The night grows quieter still, and peace settles deeper in your spirit. This is holy ground, the meeting place of human frailty and divine love. Nothing else is required of you now. You don't need to strive. You don't need to plan. You don't even need to think. Simply rest in the knowledge that you are loved beyond measure, forgiven without condition, and held in perfect peace. And as your heart softens, let hope flicker gently within you. Tomorrow will come, and with it, new mercy. The sun will rise again, and God's light will meet you there, just as faithfully as it meets you now. But tonight is a gift, a quiet pause in the rhythm of life, a time to dwell in the nearness of your Creator, to let go, and to simply be loved. So, rest now. Let His word be the lullaby of your spirit. Let His presence be the warmth that wraps you in safety. Let His promises be the foundation under your dreams. You are not alone. You are deeply loved. And as you drift toward sleep, remember this peace is not fleeting. It lives within you, carried by the Spirit of the one who never leaves your side. Now, close your eyes. Breathe deeply. Let go. You are safe. You are loved. You are home in God's perfect peace. There comes a moment, often in the quiet of the night, when the heart begins to whisper the truth we try to avoid. All day long we cannot control everything. We try so hard, don't we? We plan. We push. We predict. We prepare. We hold tightly to what feels safe, afraid that if we loosen our grip, everything will fall apart. Yet, in this struggle to manage every detail, our souls grow weary. The weight of control becomes too heavy to carry. Tonight, God invites you to set that weight down. Take a deep breath. Let it out slowly. The air feels lighter when you breathe with intention. The mind begins to loosen its hold. The heart starts to soften. There is peace waiting just beyond the edge of control. Peace that comes when you surrender what was never yours to carry alone. It's not easy to let go. You've learned to rely on your strength, to navigate through chaos, to build walls of safety around the unknown. But those walls, while meant to protect you, can also keep you from resting in the comfort of divine guidance. God doesn't ask you to stop caring. He simply asks you to trust that He cares more than you could ever imagine. When you close your eyes tonight, imagine placing everything you've been holding into God's hands, every plan you've made, every fear you've hidden, every question that lingers unanswered. One by one, release them. Feel the tension unravel as you whisper, God, I release my grip and surrender my path to your wise and loving hands. You are not losing control. You are being freed from the illusion that you ever had to hold it all yourself. The one who formed you knows your steps before you take them. He sees beyond the mountains of tomorrow and understands the valleys you haven't yet walked through. His plan for you is not fragile. His timing is not late. His wisdom does not fail. As you lie here, think of the words from Proverbs. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make your paths straight. These words are not a reprimand. They are an invitation to breathe easier, to rest, to release the endless cycle of overthinking, and simply rest in the knowledge that your life is being held by hands far stronger than yours. Maybe today you faced uncertainty decisions that weighed on you, outcomes you couldn't control. Maybe your mind has replayed conversations, choices, or moments that didn't go as planned. But tonight, the Lord whispers, "You don't have to figure it out. I am already working in the silence." The same God who placed the stars in the sky knows how to guide your path. The same voice that calmed the storm speaks peace over your life now. You don't have to force the outcome. You don't have to understand the why. You only need to trust the one who holds tomorrow in his hands. The human heart clings to certainty, but faith often lives in the mystery. God doesn't ask for blind obedience. He asks for surrendered trust. He knows your fears, your doubts, your worries about what comes next. He knows how hard it is to let go. But when you do, when you release your plans into his care, something sacred happens. Your anxiety gives way to peace. Your striving turns into stillness, and your burdens transform into quiet faith. Imagine for a moment that you're standing beside a vast ocean. The waves roll gently toward your feet, washing away the marks of yesterday. You scoop up a handful of sand, feeling how easily it slips through your fingers, no matter how tightly you try to hold it. That sand is life delicate, fleeting, impossible to grasp completely, and yet the ocean, endless and powerful, represents God's control. He holds what you cannot. He shapes the tides. He carries what you release. You do not have to carry the ocean. You simply need to trust the one who commands it. As the sound of the waves fades in your imagination, return to the quiet of your room. The air is calm, the night still. Your heartbeat slows as you remember that surrender is not weakness, it's worship. To surrender is to say, "Lord, I trust you more than my fear. I believe in your plan more than my understanding. I choose your peace over my control." And in that moment of surrender, heaven moves. The things you cannot fix begin to heal in his timing. The doors you cannot open begin to shift by his will. The storms you cannot calm begin to quiet under his command. You may not see it yet, but God is working. He always has been. Let the verse from Isaiah wash over you. Fear not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. I will help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. These words are a promise written for nights just like this, nights when your heart feels fragile, when you've done all you can, and all that's left is to rest in his embrace. There's beauty in surrender, though it doesn't always look like victory. Sometimes it looks like tears. Sometimes it looks like stillness. Sometimes it looks like closing your eyes and saying, I don't understand, but I trust you. In those moments, faith is being formed, not in the answers, but in the letting go. The truth is, you don't have to hold it all together. God never asked you to. The weight you carry, He's been waiting to lift it. The uncertainty you fear, He's already written your way through it. You are not the keeper of your destiny. You are the beloved child of the one who holds eternity. Let your soul begin to rest in that. Feel the release. The tension begins to fade from your body. Your thoughts quiet, like waves receding from the shore. There's peace in this surrender deep. Steady, lasting peace. You are learning, in this quiet moment, that surrender is not about losing control. It's about giving control back to the one who knows what to do with it. You were never meant to carry the world on your shoulders. You were meant to walk with God, not ahead of Him. Every time you release your plans, your worries, your outcomes, you make room for His presence. Every time you choose trust over fear, you create space for His peace to dwell within you. And every time you stop striving to control the uncontrollable, you discover the quiet miracle of faith. Maybe tonight, as you listen, you can think of one thing that feels too heavy to hold. A situation that seems uncertain. A relationship you can't fix. A prayer that hasn't yet been answered. Picture it in your hands, then gently place it in God's. Let it rest there. You don't need to reach for it again. It's safe with Him. Now breathe. Feel your shoulders relax. Your heart grow lighter. The surrender has begun. You are releasing the illusion of control and embracing the reality of God's perfect care. He is not asking you to do more. He is asking you to rest more, to trust more, to know that His hands are steady even when yours are tired. When you finally let go, something shifts inside you. The noise of fear begins to fade. The rhythm of peace takes its place. You find yourself breathing easier, thinking clearer, feeling freer. That is what happens when surrender meets faith. In this stillness, remember that surrender is not a single act, it's a rhythm. Each day, each night, you'll have moments to choose trust over control again. Some nights, you'll surrender with confidence. Other nights, you'll do it through tears. But every surrender draws you closer to the heart of God. Every moment of release deepens your rest in His presence. You don't have to understand His timing. You don't have to know the outcome. You only have to rest in the assurance that His ways are higher. His heart is kinder, and His purpose is perfect. So as you drift deeper into rest, picture yourself walking through a quiet path surrounded by light. Each step you take, you feel God's hand guiding yours. You don't see the whole road ahead, but you no longer need to. The peace of surrender is enough for tonight. You whisper one more prayer. Simple yet powerful, Lord, I release my need to control. Teach me to trust You fully. I surrender my worries, my plans, and my heart to Your care. And as those words rest upon your lips, you feel His answer not in thunder or sound, but in calm assurance. His spirit whispers back, "You are safe with me." That's all you need to know. That's all your heart has longed to hear. Now, let yourself rest completely. Every thought can fade away. Every plan can wait until morning. The one who watches over you neither slumbers nor sleeps. You are being held in perfect peace, in perfect love, in perfect serenity. And as your breathing deepens and the night settles around you, may you feel the gentle rhythm of heaven surrounding you. You are no longer striving. You are no longer holding on. You are free, resting in the care of your Father, who works all things together for good. If this time of surrender has brought you peace, take a moment to keep this connection close. Subscribe to this channel and share it with someone who needs to hear these words tonight. Let this space be a refuge for weary hearts, a sanctuary of rest, trust, and faith in God's unfailing love. Now rest. Dear soul, you've released what you cannot control. You've placed it in the hands that never fail. And there, in that surrender, you have finally found peace. Grace. It's such a small word for something so vast, so unsearchable, so endless in depth and power. Grace is what catches us when we fall, what lifts us when we cannot lift ourselves, and what speaks softly in the quiet of our shame. You are still loved. As you rest tonight, let your heart open to the mystery of God's grace, not something you can earn or repay, but something freely poured into your life because you are precious to Him. There is no performance here, no checklist to complete before you are welcomed into His arms. The beauty of grace is that it meets you right where you are, weary, flawed, uncertain, and says, "Come home." As the day fades and the world quiets, take a deep breath and release the thoughts that haunt you. You don't have to replay the moments you wish you could change. You don't need to fix every mistake before resting. Grace whispers, "It's enough to be still." God's heart toward you is one of mercy, not measurement. He doesn't count your worth by how well you handle the day, but by the love He placed within you from the beginning. That love has never diminished. No matter how far you've wandered or how many times you've fallen short, think of grace as the gentle tide that washes the shore clean every morning. Yesterday's footprints, yesterday's debris, all of it is carried away in the steady rhythm of mercy. You don't see the ocean strain to forgive. It simply flows. And so it is with God. He doesn't hesitate to extend forgiveness or love. His grace is not reluctant, it's abundant. You don't need to beg for it. You only need to receive it. As you lie in bed tonight, imagine that grace covering you like a warm blanket, not to hide your flaws, but to comfort you in them. The world may have demanded perfection today. You might have faced harsh words, criticism, or even your own disappointment in yourself. But grace doesn't echo those voices. Grace tells a different story. It says that even in your imperfection, you are chosen. Even in your weakness, you are seen. And even in your uncertainty, you are held. Sometimes we resist grace because we think we don't deserve it. We try to earn love, to prove our value through effort or achievement. But grace cannot be earned. It only thrives where surrender begins. God's grace is not a reward for good behavior. It's the breath that revives the broken. When you release the need to prove yourself, you make room for peace to settle deep within your spirit. You make room for God to move freely in your heart. Take a moment now to reflect on the day, not to judge it, but to bless it. Every misstep, every regret, every word you wish you could take back, bring it into the light of grace. God already knows it all, and still He smiles upon you. His grace is not conditional, it is constant. When you confess, you are not bringing something new to His attention. You are simply agreeing with the truth that grace has already covered it. Picture yourself standing in a gentle rain, not cold or harsh, but soft and renewing. That's what grace feels like. It falls freely, washing away the dust and heaviness of the day. You don't have to run for cover. You only need to lift your face and let it fall upon you. That is what God wants for you tonight, to stop striving, to stop hiding, and to let grace do what it was always meant to do: restore, renew, and refresh. Grace is also what teaches us to forgive ourselves. So many of us carry guilt like a heavy coat, afraid to lay it down because we think it defines us. But guilt is a shadow. It fades in the presence of light. God's grace calls you out of that shadow and into His warmth. You don't have to keep punishing yourself for what has already been forgiven. The cross settled that debt long ago when Jesus said, "It is finished." He meant that nothing else needs to be added, not your striving, not your shame, not your sorrow. As you breathe in slowly now, let that truth settle deep within you. Are not beyond grace. There is no wound too deep, no sin too great, no failure too final. Grace reaches into every corner of your heart, even the places you've tried to lock away. God's love doesn't turn away from your mess. It moves toward it with compassion. When you finally let Him in, you'll find that grace doesn't just cover your brokenness, it transforms it into something beautiful. Tonight, imagine yourself standing before God, not as someone who must explain or justify, but as someone who is already accepted. There is no interrogation here, no judgmental gaze, only love. God looks at you and sees His creation, His beloved, His child, and in that gaze, all striving ceases. You can rest, you can breathe, you can finally be. Grace also calls us to extend to others what we have received ourselves. Maybe someone hurt you deeply. Maybe forgiveness feels impossible. But grace reminds us that forgiveness isn't about excusing the pain. It's about releasing it. It's about refusing to let bitterness take root. You are not meant to carry resentment through the night. Let grace work through you, softening the hardened places of your heart. Pray for the strength to forgive, not because the other person deserves it, but because your peace does. And if there's someone you've wronged, grace gives you courage to seek reconciliation. It reminds you that humility is not weakness. It's the doorway to healing. You don't have to fix everything tonight, but you can whisper a prayer, Lord. Guide me hart toward peace. Help me mend what's been broken. Grace always makes a way. As you rest in this truth, allow gratitude to rise. Thank God for his patience for every moment he waited while you stumbled. For every time he carried you when you didn't even realize it. His grace has been woven through your entire story. Even the painful chapters, nothing has been wasted. Even your mistakes have become soil for growth, teaching you to depend more deeply on his mercy. Perhaps you've been hard on yourself, expecting more strength, more discipline, more perfection. But listen closely. Grace is not about becoming flawless. It's about becoming free. Free from the weight of self-condemnation. Free from the pressure to meet impossible standards. Free from fear that you'll never be enough. Grace doesn't demand you to rise higher. It invites you to fall softly into the arms of a loving Father who says, "You are enough, because I am enough." Think of how a child runs to a parent after falling. There's no hesitation, no calculation, just trust. That's what grace invites from you. You don't need to clean up first. You just need to come. And as you do, God meets you not with disappointment, but with delight. He binds your wounds, wipes away your tears, and whispers, "You're home." Now, let that thought settle in your spirit. You are home in his grace, in his presence, in his peace. Every breath you take tonight is surrounded by mercy. Every heartbeat is a reminder of his unending love. You are not striving anymore. You are simply receiving. Let go of the guilt. Let go of the striving. Let go of the endless what-ifs. Grace is enough. It always has been. And it always will be. As you drift towards sleep, let that truth cradle your thoughts. Let it replace every anxious whisper with the steady rhythm of his promise. My grace is sufficient for you. And when morning comes, may you wake renewed, not because everything has changed overnight, but because you have remembered what has always been true. You are loved. You are forgiven. You are free. That is grace not earned, not deserved, but beautifully given. If this message has brought calm to your heart tonight, consider subscribing and sharing this space with others who may need the same reminder of God's endless grace. Together, let us rest, reflect, and live each day anchored in the peace of his love. May his grace cover you tonight. Now and always, stillness. It is one of the most sacred gifts we can experience, yet one of the hardest to embrace. In a world that constantly hums with noise, movement, and demand, silence can feel uncomfortable, even foreign. But in the quiet, something divine happens. Stillness becomes a doorway to peace, a space where the voice of God can finally be heard. As you rest tonight, let your soul slip into that sacred calm, not as an escape from life, but as a return to the one who gives life. Take a deep breath. Let the air fill your lungs. Slow and steady, Feel the weight of the day begin to loosen its grip. Every thought, every burden, every plan that tried to control your mind, let it drift away for now. The world can wait. You are not meant to carry its weight while you rest. In this moment, there is only you and God, nothing to prove, nothing to achieve, nothing to fix, just being, just breathing, just resting in His stillness. Stillness is not the absence of life, it is the rhythm of grace. When you quiet your mind, you start to notice the gentle pulse of creation, the whisper of wind through trees, the steady beating of your heart, the subtle hum of peace beneath all the chaos. God is present there. In that hidden harmony, He speaks not through thunder or fire, but in the soft whisper that comes only when the world grows quiet enough to hear, "Be still, and know that I am God." Those words are not a command to stop existing. They are an invitation to remember that you are held, that you are guided, that the one who shaped the stars is not far from you. In stillness, you remember who you are, not what the world says, not what fear tells you, but what truth reveals. You are beloved. You are seen. You are safe. The stillness of God is not empty. It is filled with presence, dense with peace, thick with comfort, radiant with love. When you enter that space, you are stepping into His heart. Every sound fades. Every worry quiets. Every question softens. You don't need to have all the answers. You don't need to fight for control. The Lord fights for you while you remain still. You simply need to rest in the assurance that He is near, that He is working even in the silence. Maybe your mind resists stillness. Maybe silence feels heavy because it brings up thoughts you've tried to avoid, regrets, fears, or the ache of uncertainty. But even those emotions are safe here. Bring them into the stillness. 2, God doesn't ask you to hide them. He invites you to lay them down. There's no need to fill the quiet with noise, or to mask your thoughts with distraction. Just sit in His presence and let the silence speak for you. Sometimes the holiest prayers are the ones without words. Stillness is where the soul learns to breathe again. The constant motion of life can suffocate the spirit, leaving us weary and restless. But when we stop, when we allow ourselves to be still before the Lord, something inside us realigns. The noise within settles, and what remains is peace, not a fragile, fleeting peace, but a deep, enduring calm that anchors you in the heart of God. Think of how Jesus often withdrew to quiet places to pray. He knew the power of solitude, not loneliness, but sacred solitude. It was in those still moments that His spirit was renewed, His heart attuned to the Father's voice. You, too, are invited into that rhythm of renewal. The world may push you to do more, to move faster, to fill every silence. But God's voice calls you to slow down, to rest, to simply be. As you lie there tonight, imagine yourself in a quiet meadow under the soft light of the moon. The air is cool. the sky wide and endless. There is no rush, no demand, no clock ticking, just the steady rhythm of your breath and the peaceful hum of creation around you. In that place, God meets you. He sits beside you in the stillness, not demanding words, not requiring action, but simply offering presence. You are enough, just as you are. The stillness of the night is not empty space. It's holy ground. It's the moment when heaven leans close to earth, when your heart can finally rest in its rightful home. In that stillness, you can release what you've been holding, the stress, the anxiety, the endless thinking. You can whisper, Lord, I trust you, and know that those words are enough. Stillness is an act of trust. It's admitting that you don't have to keep the world spinning, that you don't have to solve every problem tonight. God is still God when you are silent. He is still in control when you are at rest. The earth doesn't stop turning when you close your eyes, and His grace doesn't stop flowing when you stop striving. In fact, it's in your stillness that He often works most deeply, mending what's broken, calming what's restless, strengthening what's weary. Sometimes we think peace will come when everything around us settles, when the to-do list is done, when the future is certain, when our hearts stop aching. But the truth is, peace doesn't wait for circumstances to change. Peace is found right here, in the stillness of this moment, because peace is a person, and His name is Jesus. When you sit quietly with Him, when you breathe in His presence, you find that calm that surpasses understanding. Let the stillness wash over you like gentle waves on the shore. Feel each thought that once raced through your mind begin to slow. Each worry soften. In this quiet, let gratitude rise. Thank God for this pause, this moment of peace that asks nothing of you but presence. You don't have to fill the silence. Let it fill you. Let it fill every tired space in your soul. Every corner where fear once lived. Stillness is where transformation begins. It's where God softens hearts, hardened by hurry. Where He reminds you that your worth isn't tied to your productivity. You are not loved because of what you accomplish. You are loved because of who you are, His creation, His child, His beloved. In stillness, the truth becomes clear again. If your thoughts wander tonight, don't fight them. Just gently return to your breath, to the sound of peace, to the presence of God surrounding you. Imagine His hand resting upon you, steady, kind, sure. Feel the calm settle deeper. Each breath you take is a prayer. Here I am. Lord, I am still. In the stillness, you might begin to notice His whispers, a quiet assurance that you are not alone. Perhaps He reminds you of a promise, or simply fills you with warmth. Don't rush it. Let the stillness speak what words cannot. Some of God's greatest work happens in the silent spaces between your thoughts. You might recall times when you tried to force solutions, when you pushed against life's flow, trying to make things happen in your timing. And yet here, in stillness, you realize that peace doesn't come from control, It comes from surrender. It comes from trusting that God is already at work, weaving good things in unseen ways. When you let go of the need to understand, you make room for wonder. When you stop trying to manage everything, you finally let Him move. So tonight, let go of the noise, the inner chatter, the external rush, the endless noise of should and must. Let them all fade into the background. What remains is peace. What remains is God. His stillness is not empty. It's alive with promise. Breathe deeply again. With each exhale, imagine releasing what no longer serves you, the tension in your shoulders, the tightness in your chest, the worries about tomorrow. With each inhale, receive His peace. Feel it rise within you. Steady and strong, this peace isn't temporary. It's the kind that stays, even when the world feels unsteady. As the night deepens, imagine God's stillness wrapping around you like a soft blanket. The worries of the day fade, and in their place, there is only calm. You are safe here. You are seen. You are loved. This stillness isn't something you have to earn. It's your inheritance as a child of God. He invites you into His rest, into His rhythm of peace. And when morning comes, may you carry this stillness with you, not as a fragile state that disappears in the noise of the day, but as a steady flame within you. Let it remind you that no matter what happens, peace is always available. You can return to it at any moment. Because God never leaves, His presence is the stillness within your storm, the calm beneath your chaos, the quiet voice that says, "Be still, and know that I am here." Light, it has always been a symbol of hope, guidance, and renewal, a reminder that even in the deepest darkness, something good still glows. From the very beginning, God said, "Let there be light," and the darkness had no choice but to yield. Tonight, as you rest and reflect, imagine that same divine light gently surrounding you, not blinding or harsh, but soft and steady, guiding you through every shadow of your mind and heart. Each of us walks through seasons where the path feels unclear, when confusion clouds our thoughts or fear dims our vision. Maybe you've been walking through one of those seasons lately, unsure of what comes next, or weary from searching for direction. Yet even when your way feels hidden, God's light never stops shining. It doesn't always arrive in flashes of brilliance or loud revelation. Sometimes it's the quiet glow that appears one step at a time, just enough for your next breath, your next choice, your next moment of peace. You don't have to see the whole road ahead to trust the one who lights it. God's guidance isn't always about clarity. Sometimes it's about confidence, about trusting that His light is enough for now, just as the stars mark the way in the night sky. His word and presence mark the way through life's darkness. Your word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path. Those words hold such comfort, not a floodlight that exposes every detail of the future, but a lamp that glows softly where your feet now stand. In a world filled with distractions and noise, It's easy to mistake brightness for true light, but not all that glows leads home. Some lights flicker with false promises, the lure of success, the pressure to be perfect, the illusion of control. These are like distant neon signs that burn out when you get close. But the light of God is different. It doesn't dazzle, it steadies. It doesn't demand, it invites. It doesn't blind, it restores vision. When you walk in His light, even the darkest valley becomes a place of peace. As you rest tonight, think of the light not as something far away, but as something already within you. The same Spirit that raised Christ from the dead now dwells in you, and that Spirit is light. It shines in your doubts, your questions, your fears, illuminating not only the way forward, but the truth about who you are. You are not lost. You are not forgotten. You are guided by the everlasting light of God, which cannot be extinguished by any shadow. Sometimes, though, life can make that light hard to see. Pain, grief, and disappointment can feel like clouds covering the sky. But even when the clouds gather, the sun has not disappeared. It still burns brightly above them. In the same way, God's presence doesn't vanish in dark times. It only becomes hidden from sight for a while. And even then, He sends glimpses, a kind word, a song that touches your heart, a verse that finds you just when you need it most. These are small rays of His light breaking through, reminders that you are never walking alone. Take a slow breath. Let it remind you of this truth. The light of God is not only around you, but also within you. Each inhale draws in His peace. Each exhale releases your fear. You don't need to strive to create the light. You simply need to uncover it, to let it shine freely through a heart surrendered to Him. When you stop trying to force control, His light begins to rise naturally, like the dawn. Imagine, for a moment, standing on a quiet hillside at the edge of night. The air is cool, the world hushed, and before you lies the horizon, still dark, yet softly glowing with the promise of sunrise. That's how God's light moves in your life. It doesn't burst suddenly. It unfolds gently, and with each passing moment, what was once hidden becomes visible. What was once feared becomes familiar. You begin to see that you were never walking alone. He was guiding you all along, even when you didn't realize it. The light of Christ does not just lead you forward, it transforms you from within. When His light enters your heart, it exposes lies. You've believed lies that say you're unworthy, unlovable, or beyond redemption. It reveals truth, not to shame you, but to heal you. The truth is that God's light doesn't avoid your shadows. It enters them, redeems them, and turns them into places of testimony. What once felt like failure can become the very space where His glory shines brightest. You might remember a time when you felt completely lost, when you couldn't see a way forward, but somehow you made it through. Somehow, the next step appeared. That was His light. Even when your eyes couldn't perceive it, it was guiding your feet, That same light is here now, steady, patient, faithful. It doesn't fade with your doubt or dim with your weariness. It waits quietly for you to notice it again, to follow where it leads. There's a gentle power in trusting the light. It doesn't rush you. It doesn't pressure you. It simply illuminates what's next, teaching you to walk by faith, not by sight. The truth is, if we could see everything ahead of us, we wouldn't need faith at all. But faith grows in the dark when you choose to keep walking, even when you can only see the next step, and every step you take in trust draws you closer to peace. As you rest, let the image of light guide your thoughts. Imagine it filling the room, a golden glow that wraps around you. Soft but strong, it seeps into every corner of your heart, touching the tired places, healing the anxious ones. The light of God doesn't demand perfection. It offers renewal. It doesn't ask for explanation. It offers understanding. You can lay your confusion down in this light, and it will not condemn you. It will comfort you. And in that comfort, you may begin to notice new clarity. Perhaps the answer to something you've been praying about starts to form, not as a sudden revelation, but as a quiet peace that tells you what to do next. That's often how divine guidance works, not as a booming voice, but as a steady assurance within. The light doesn't always show you where the road ends, but it will always show you where to take the next step. Let your heart rest in that truth tonight. You don't need to force your way through the dark. You only need to walk in the light you've been given. If you can't see the whole path, trust that God's timing is perfect. The light will grow as you move. The more you follow, the clearer it becomes. Maybe you've been walking through a shadowed place, a season of loss, fear, or uncertainty. Remember, these shadows only exist where there is light. The very presence of the shadow proves that light is near. So even when you feel surrounded by darkness, know that it's not the end of your story. The light of God is just beyond what you see, ready to rise again. As it always does, there's a kind of peace that comes when you stop running and start trusting. When you let the light lead, you no longer have to chase direction. It finds you. The one who lights your path knows every step ahead. He sees what you cannot see. He knows where you're meant to be, and he will not let you miss it. Let this truth become your lullaby. Tonight, you are guided, protected, and loved by a God who never sleeps. His light watches over you even as you close your eyes. When you wake, his mercies will greet you like morning sunbeams breaking through the window, soft, warm, and new. As you drift towards sleep, whisper this prayer in your heart, Lord. Guide me with your light. When I cannot see, help me to trust. When I grow weary, remind me that you walk beside me. Let your light dwell within me, that I may shine your peace into the world. Then, release the day, release the questions, release the worry. You are safe in his glow. His light is not just around you, it is in you. It moves through you, and no darkness can overcome it. May this light guard your rest. calm your spirit, and renew your hope. Tomorrow will come with its own light new strength, new mercy, new clarity. But for now, rest in the radiance of His presence. You are guided. You are loved. You are seen by the light that never fades. If this message has brought peace to your heart, consider subscribing and sharing this space with others who may need to be reminded of God's light tonight. Together, let us walk in that eternal glow steady, warm, and unwavering, guided always by the light of His love. There comes a time in every believer's walk when the weight of perfection begins to crumble beneath the truth of grace. We strive, we plan, we pray, and still we fall short. We miss the mark. We lose our patience. We forget to love as deeply as we should. And yet, even in these moments, especially in these moments, God's presence remains. His love doesn't waver because of our flaws. It meets us there, right in the middle of our imperfections, and calls us home. Tonight, as you rest, let these words sink in. You do not have to be perfect to be loved by God. You simply have to be willing to receive His grace. We live in a world that glorifies achievement and filters every flaw. We're taught to hide our weaknesses, to polish every detail, to prove our worth through how close we come to being flawless. But that's not how God measures the heart. He doesn't look for spotless perfection. He looks for honest surrender. He looks for the heart that says, Lord, I can't do this on my own. I need you. That's the moment when heaven moves, when we finally stop pretending to be self-sufficient. The Spirit fills the empty places with peace. Think of the disciples, ordinary men with doubts, tempers, fears, and misunderstandings, yet chosen by Jesus to carry His message to the world. Peter denied Him. Thomas doubted Him. James and John argued about who was greatest, and still, Jesus loved them. Still, He called them friends. He saw beyond their imperfections to what they could become through His grace. And that same grace is what reaches into your life tonight, reminding you that your worth was never tied to your performance. It was sealed at the cross, written in love that cannot be undone. Accepting imperfection is not giving up on growth. It's releasing the lie that you have to earn love, to deserve peace. It's recognizing that sanctification is a process, an unfolding journey, not a checklist. God isn't impatient with you when you stumble. He doesn't stand at a distance waiting for you to get everything right. Instead, He walks with you, step by step, teaching you to trust His mercy more than your own ability. Every time you fall and rise again, grace is doing its quiet work, softening your heart, shaping your faith, deepening your humility. When we hold ourselves to impossible standards, we often forget that God never asked us to carry that burden. He invites us to rest in His strength, not our own. My grace is sufficient for you. He says, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Those words aren't meant to shame us. They're meant to set us free. The places where you feel most inadequate are the very places where His light can shine the brightest. Your imperfection becomes a window through which His perfection is revealed. As you lie down tonight, let yourself breathe. Let the tension of striving melt from your shoulders. You don't need to replay every mistake or regret. You don't have to fix every broken piece before you can rest. God already knows your heart, and He loves you as you are unfinished. In progress, a beautiful work being refined by His hands. His love is not waiting for you on the other side of your improvement. It's here, right now, wrapping around you like a warm blanket of peace. Sometimes the hardest person to forgive is ourselves. We hold on to our failures long after God has let them go. We rehearse our shortcomings, convinced that they define us. But they don't. They are lessons, not labels. God never called you failure or not enough. He called you His child. And nothing can separate you from that truth. Not your mistakes, not your doubts, not your imperfections. The more you learn to accept this truth, the freer your soul becomes to rest in the love that has always been yours. There's something sacred about imperfection. It humbles us. It teaches us compassion. It draws us closer to others because it reminds us that we all fall short. When you can look at your flaws and still see yourself as beloved, you begin to see others through that same lens of grace. You stop comparing, stop competing, stop measuring worth by standards the world created. Instead, you learn to see beauty in the broken, purpose in the pain, light in the places that once felt too dark to redeem. Jesus Himself was drawn to imperfection. He touched the untouchable, sat with sinners, lifted the broken-hearted. He didn't avoid the messy parts of humanity. He stepped right into them. He didn't demand perfection. He offered presence. When the woman caught in adultery was brought before Him, He didn't condemn her. He didn't list her wrongs. He simply said, "Neither do I condemn you. Go and sin no more." That's the essence of grace, truth, and mercy intertwined. Forgiveness without shame. Love without condition. Imagine if you could look at yourself tonight through the eyes of Jesus, how much gentler your thoughts would be. You'd see the same person. He sees someone worthy of love, capable of healing, destined for redemption. You'd stop striving to be flawless and start resting in being faithful. You'd stop trying to earn what has already been given freely. The truth is, imperfection is part of being human. Even creation itself reflects it, the unevenness of mountains, the cracks in the desert ground, the ebb and flow of the tide. God's beauty doesn't depend on symmetry or precision. It's born in diversity and depth. So too is the beauty of your soul. The scars, the lessons, the seasons of struggle, they tell a story of grace unfolding. They are evidence that God has been with you every step of the way. When you wake tomorrow, you might still face the same challenges, but you can meet them differently. Instead of demanding perfection, invite presence. Instead of striving for control, choose serenity. Let every imperfection remind you that you are still growing, still learning, still being molded by the hands of a perfect Creator. When you make peace with your imperfections, you open the door for peace to dwell within you. As you drift towards sleep, imagine the Lord standing beside you, not with judgment, but with tenderness. His hands are gentle, his eyes full of compassion. He whispers your name softly, reminding you that you are his. Every flaw, every fear, every wound, he knows them all. And still, he calls you beloved. Let that truth cradle your heart tonight. Let it dissolve every ounce of shame or striving. You are not defined by what you've done or failed to do. You are defined by his love. Breathe deeply now. Feel the rhythm of grace in your chest. With every breath, release the need to be perfect. With every exhale, let go of self-criticism and regret. Let peace settle where pressure once lived. You are enough. Right here, right now, simply because God says you are. Tomorrow will come with new opportunities to learn, to grow, to love, to forgive. But for now, rest in the truth that grace is not earned, it's received. God is not waiting for you to fix yourself before he draws near. He's already here, surrounding you in perfect love. His light shines through the cracks, and in those cracks, beauty is born. So tonight, as your eyes grow heavy and your heart grows still, may this truth linger within you. Your imperfections are not obstacles to God's love. They are invitations. Invitations to trust more deeply, to surrender more fully, and to rest more completely in the one who is perfect in love. There is a quiet place the world cannot touch, a sanctuary within the soul, where words fade and only presence remains. It's in that sacred stillness that prayer lives. Prayer is not always about speaking. Sometimes it's about breathing. It's about resting your weary heart in the hands of God and trusting that he understands what even you cannot put into words. Tonight, as the noise of the day begins to fade, let your spirit slip into that space. Let every anxious thought soften. Let every fear unravel. You are stepping into communion, into the heart of divine peace, into the solace that prayer brings. Prayer is not about perfection or eloquence. It's about honesty. God doesn't need beautifully crafted phrases. He listens for sincerity. He hears the tremble in your voice, the sigh in your breath, the silence between your words. Every whisper matters. Every longing, every tear, every unspoken ache is heard by the one who knit you together in love. There's no distance between your pain and his presence. No barrier that prayer cannot cross. Even when your faith feels fragile, prayer bridges the gap between your uncertainty and his unchanging grace. When life becomes heavy, prayer becomes the breath that sustains you. You don't have to know what to say. You don't have to fix what's broken before you come to him. You simply come as you are, where you are. God meets you there. He always does. His presence doesn't depend on your perfection. It rests on his promise. And that promise is steady, eternal, and full of mercy. Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine kneeling before a gentle light that knows your every struggle. You speak quietly, and even before the words form, He understands. That's what prayer is. It's an exchange of burdens for peace, of fear for faith, of striving for surrender. It's where your soul exhales the weight it was never meant to carry. In that place of divine dialogue, you find comfort deeper than any human understanding. There are nights when prayer feels effortless, when your heart overflows with gratitude, and the words pour out like a river. But there are also nights when prayer feels hard, when the silence feels endless, when it seems as though heaven is far away. And yet, even in those moments, God is near. Silence is not absence. It's often the soft space where He's teaching you to listen. Prayer is not about always receiving an answer. It's about resting in the assurance that you've been heard. Remember how Jesus prayed in solitude. He often withdrew from the crowds, from the noise, from the demands of life, to be alone with the Father. Even the Son of God sought solace in prayer. He prayed in joy, in sorrow, in agony, and in surrender. In the Garden of Gethsemane, His prayer was not eloquent. It was raw, human, filled with anguish. Father, if it be possible, let this cup pass from me, yet not my will, but yours be done. That is the purest form of prayer, not seeking escape, but seeking alignment. Prayer transforms, not because it changes God, but because it changes us. As you lie down tonight, think of prayer not as an obligation, but as an invitation. You are being invited into the presence of the one who loves you most. When you pray, you are never alone. The Holy Spirit joins you, interceding when you cannot find words, carrying your sighs to the heart of God. You may feel small, but your prayers move mountains not because of your strength, but because of His. There is a sacred rhythm to prayer that soothes the restless heart. It's the steady inhale of faith and the gentle exhale of trust. Each breath becomes a prayer of its own, Lord. I receive your peace. Lord, I let go of my fear. You can pray without speaking a word. You can pray through your tears, through your laughter, through your stillness. Prayer is not confined to a posture. It's the posture of your heart that matters. Some of the most powerful prayers are whispered through pain, when you have no words left, when you simply cry, "Help me." God, that cry pierces heaven. He is not distant from your suffering. He bends low to listen. The Psalms are filled with such prayers, pleas from weary hearts who trusted that even in despair, God was still good. David prayed through failure and fear, through joy and victory. His prayers remind us that God welcomes every emotion. You don't have to hide your sorrow or sanitize your pain before you come to Him. Prayer is the safest place to bring it all. In prayer, you don't have to pretend. You can lay down every pretense, every mask, every carefully constructed wall. God already knows what's behind them. And still, He waits with open arms. You can tell Him you're angry, confused, or tired. You can tell Him you're grateful, hopeful, or lost. He can handle it all. His love is not fragile. His presence is not conditional. He is a father who delights in hearing the voice of his children. Sometimes, prayer is simply listening, sitting quietly in the presence of the one who made you and letting his peace wash over you. In that stillness, clarity often rises. Answers unfold, not as thunderclaps, but as gentle whispers. God speaks through peace more often than through noise. And when your heart grows still enough to listen, you'll find that he has been speaking all along. Tonight, as you prepare for rest, allow prayer to become your lullaby. Let every thought be a conversation, every breath an act of trust. Pray for peace, for strength, for understanding, but also pray for stillness, for surrender, for the grace to simply be. When you wake tomorrow, continue the conversation. Let prayer weave through your day like sunlight through trees, soft, constant, and life-giving. There is solace in prayer because prayer reminds you that you are never unseen. God knows your name, your needs, your heart's secret hopes. Every time you turn to him, even for a moment, you are acknowledging that you are not alone in this vast and noisy world. You are walking with the one who holds it all together, and that realization brings a deep, unshakable peace. Think of prayer as the heartbeat of your soul. It keeps your spirit alive, connected, and grounded in divine love. You can pray in the morning light, in the middle of the storm, or in the quiet darkness of night. You can pray while working, driving, resting, or simply existing. God is not limited by time or place. His presence fills every moment, and prayer is how you touch that presence. If your prayers feel unanswered, remember this silence does not mean abandonment. Sometimes, God's quietness is his way of guiding you deeper, calling you to trust beyond what you can see. The waiting itself can be holy, for in the waiting, faith is strengthened, patience grows, and peace takes deeper root. God's timing is not always swift, but it is always sure. Let your final prayer tonight be simple, Lord. Thank you for being here. There's power in those words. Gratitude opens the heart. It shifts your focus from what's missing to what's present, from what you fear to what you trust. Thank him for the breath in your lungs, for the bed beneath you, for the promise of a new morning. Thank him for listening, for understanding, for never turning away. As you drift toward sleep, imagine your prayers rising like soft light into the night sky, each one heard, each one cherished, each one held close by the heart of God. Feel his peace wrapping around you, quieting every anxious thought. There's no need to struggle, no need to strive. Just rest in the knowledge that prayer connects you to eternal love. The solace found in prayer isn't about escaping reality. It's about transforming it. It changes how you carry your burdens, how you face your fears, how you rest in the midst of uncertainty. Through prayer, you are reminded that God's strength is made perfect in your weakness. that His mercy renews every morning, and that His presence never leaves you. And when dawn breaks, you'll rise not just refreshed, but renewed. You'll carry that quiet strength into the world, knowing that prayer isn't something you leave behind at night. It's the light that goes with you wherever you go. So tonight, let your heart find rest in that truth. Speak to God, or simply sit with Him. He is listening. He is near, and His peace, the peace that surpasses all understanding, will guard your heart and mind. There comes a moment at the end of a long day when the weight of life seems to settle heavier on your shoulders. The noise fades, the lights dim, and all that remains is the quiet truth of your heart, tired, longing, and fragile. Yet in that stillness, comfort begins to unfold. It doesn't rush in with thunder or demand to be noticed. It arrives softly, like the whisper of a breeze through open windows, reminding you that you are not alone. God's comfort is not a fleeting feeling. It's a steady presence, a hand that never lets go, even when you have no strength left to hold on. Comfort is a language that God speaks fluently. It's the warmth in your chest when you remember that He's carried you through darker nights than this. It's the gentle nudge of peace that comes when your thoughts quiet down long enough to notice that He's been here all along. When you invite His comfort in, you aren't asking to escape your pain. You're allowing love to meet you in it. God never promised that life would be free of trouble, but He did promise that you would never face it alone. His comfort is not distant or abstract. It is as real as breath, as near as the beating of your heart. You may not always feel it right away. Sometimes comfort begins in the smallest of ways, a verse that lingers in your mind, a memory that brings a quiet smile, a sense that even in sorrow, there's a hand guiding you through. The Lord is called the Father of compassion and the God of all comfort. He doesn't just comfort you so that you might feel better. He comforts you so that His love may take root. Steady your heart and remind you that you are deeply known and deeply loved. Think of the moments when your heart has been restless, when the ache of uncertainty or loss made it hard to breathe. Even in those moments, God's comfort was near. It might have come through a friend's kind words, through a melody that seemed to wrap around your spirit, or through a quiet moment when you realized you were still standing. That's His touch, gentle, consistent, faithful. Comfort doesn't always change your circumstances, but it changes how you carry them. It turns pain into patience, sorrow into surrender, and fear into quiet trust. Imagine walking through a valley. The shadows seem long, and your path feels uncertain. But then, in that valley, you sense something steady beside you. That's the shepherd's presence. His rod and his staff, they comfort you. Not because the valley is gone, but because you are no longer walking it alone. The shepherd doesn't rush you through the valley. He walks with you, step by step, at your pace, carrying what you cannot. That is the essence of divine comfort. It doesn't remove the struggle, but it transforms it into holy ground. Sometimes we resist comfort because it asks us to stop fighting. It invites us to rest, to surrender our need to understand, or to control. But God's comfort is most powerful when we let go of our defenses and simply allow ourselves to be held. Like a child resting in a parent's arms. You are safest when you stop striving and start trusting. Comfort doesn't come from having all the answers. It comes from knowing who holds them. There's a profound beauty in realizing that God's comfort is not conditional. You don't have to earn it by being strong, or faithful, or joyful. It's not reserved for those who seem to have it all together. Comfort is for the weary, the broken, the doubting, the hurting. It's for the ones who can barely whisper, "Lord, I can't do this alone." It's in that whisper that God draws nearest. He doesn't come with judgment or impatience. He comes with understanding, with tenderness. His comfort doesn't scold you for your tears. It sanctifies them. Sometimes his comfort feels like peace settling into the cracks of your heart. Other times, it's a strength you can't explain, a resilience that wasn't there before. You wake up one morning and realize that somehow you made it through the night. That's his mercy, renewing you in quiet ways. You may not have noticed when he began to heal the ache, but suddenly the pain feels lighter, and hope begins to breathe again. That's what comfort does. It doesn't erase the past, but it restores your capacity to hope for the future. When Jesus walked the earth, he carried comfort wherever he went. He comforted the grieving, the lonely, the outcast. He didn't just speak words of peace, he embodied them. He touched the untouchable, sat with the sinner, and lifted the broken-hearted. And now, through the Holy Spirit, that same comfort lives within you. The Spirit is called the Comforter for a reason. When your heart trembles, he steadies it. When you cannot pray, he intercedes with groanings too deep for words. When you feel abandoned, he whispers truth. You are not alone. You are loved. There's something holy about the kind of comfort that comes from divine presence. It's not about distraction or denial. It's about being seen completely and loved anyway. When you feel unseen by the world, God's comfort reminds you that he sees every tear that falls, every thought that lingers in silence. His comfort is not quick or shallow. It's deep and patient. It meets you where you are and gently leads you toward peace. In the middle of the night, when anxiety creeps in and your thoughts spin in circles, you can turn to that comfort. You don't have to fight for it or earn it. You only have to receive it. You can breathe a simple prayer, Lord. Be near. And he is. The nearness of God is not measured by emotion. It's measured by truth. He is closer than your own heartbeat, closer than your fear, closer than the worry that tries to steal your rest. Comfort is not always about solving what hurts. It's about feeling safe in the midst of it. It's knowing that you are held by someone who will not let go. When you begin to feel that safety, your body relaxes, your spirit loosens its grip, and rest becomes possible again. God's comfort allows you to rest, not because everything is fixed, but because you are anchored in something greater than the storm. Let your mind wander through the moments of your life where comfort appeared unexpectedly. Maybe it was after a loss. when you thought the grief would never end. Maybe it was during a season of uncertainty, when the future seemed hidden, yet somewhere in that journey, peace appeared, a peace that made no sense, that didn't come from explanations or resolutions. That peace was God's comfort, quiet and sure, whispering, "I am here." It's easy to forget that comfort often flows through others. God uses people to carry His tenderness into your life. A friend who listens without judgment, a stranger's kindness, a simple gesture that reminds you of grace. These are not coincidences. They are divine appointments. Every act of compassion carries a trace of the Comforter's presence. When you receive that comfort, it not only heals you, but prepares you to pass it on. You become a vessel of the same comfort you once received. And that is part of God's beautiful design. Comfort received becomes comfort shared. The same love that steadied you in your darkest hour becomes the love you offer to someone else in theirs. When you hold another's hand through pain, when you sit with them in silence instead of trying to fix what cannot be fixed, you are living out God's comfort. You are echoing His heart. There will always be moments that test your faith, moments that leave you questioning why certain things happen the way they do. In those moments, comfort doesn't erase your questions. It gives you the strength to hold them without despair. It anchors you to something deeper than understanding trust. Trust that even here, even though God is working for good. As you rest tonight, allow that comfort to fill you. Imagine it wrapping around you like a soft blanket, steadying your breathing, slowing your thoughts. You don't need to fix anything right now. You don't need to be strong. You simply need to be still and receive. The same God who spoke peace to the storm speaks peace to you. The same hands that calmed the waves now rest gently upon your heart. Breathe deeply, and remember this comfort is not the absence of trouble. It's the presence of God. You are safe. Even when you cannot see the way ahead, you are loved. Even when your heart feels uncertain, you are held. Even when everything else feels like it's falling apart, His comfort is steady, eternal, and unbreakable. Let your final thoughts tonight be soft ones. Think of the ways God has carried you. Think of the peace that has come when you least expected it. Think of the quiet strength that rises within you even now. That is His comfort living in you. Rest in it. Rest in Him. And when morning comes, carry that comfort with you. Let it shape the way you move through the world with gentleness, with patience, with hope. Because those who have known the deep comfort of God become lights of comfort to others. The world is full of people longing for peace. And through you, His comfort continues its work quietly, faithfully, endlessly. Tonight, you don't have to reach far to find comfort. It's already here. It's already yours. It's the still voice that whispers, "You are mine." It's the warmth that seeps into your spirit and reminds you that no darkness can overcome His light. In that truth, you can rest. In that love, you can breathe again. And in that comfort, you will find peace that no circumstance can take away. Every life is a journey, a winding, unpredictable path woven with beauty and brokenness, joy and sorrow, gain and loss. Some days, the road feels smooth beneath your feet, lit by sunlight and certainty. Other days, it feels steep, shadow-wed, and lonely. Yet through every twist and turn, through every valley and mountain, there is one truth that never changes. God has been walking with you all along. From the first breath you took to this very moment, His presence has marked your journey. Nothing in your story has escaped His notice, and no step you've taken has been wasted. Acknowledging your journey means more than simply looking back. It means seeing the hand of grace that has guided you, even when you didn't recognize it. It means realizing that your path, though imperfect and often painful, has been sacred all the same. Every chapter, every triumph, every heartbreak, every unanswered prayer has shaped the person you've become. It's in the moments of confusion that your faith grew deeper. It's in the seasons of waiting that your patience took root. It's in the valleys of pain that compassion was born in you. And though it's hard to see while you're still in the middle of it, God's hand has never stopped writing your story. Think for a moment about where you've been, the things you faced, the lessons you've learned, the people who have come and gone. Each part of your journey carries meaning. The laughter that once filled your days and the tears that fell when no one was watching are both woven into the same tapestry. When you look back, don't only see the scars, see the healing. Don't only see the detours, see the redirection. God's guidance doesn't always appear as a loud voice or a clear map. Often, it shows up as closed doors that protect you, as small nudges that lead you to safer paths, as moments of stillness that prepare you for what's next. You might not have understood every step you've taken, but you were never walking blind. The Lord's word has been a lamp to your feet and a light to your path, even when that light only illuminated the next single step. It was enough. God's guidance isn't always about clarity, it's about closeness. He doesn't promise to show you the whole road ahead, but He promises to walk every mile beside you. That promise is worth more than certainty. Acknowledging your journey also means forgiving yourself for the wrong turns. There were moments you acted out of fear, out of pride, out of pain. But grace has followed you through every mistake. The beauty of God's love is that He never defines you by your failures. He uses them to shape your faith, to soften your heart, and to teach you humility. You can look back now, not with shame, but with gratitude for how far you've come. Every stumble has strengthened your step. Every detour has deepened your trust, and every loss has expanded your capacity to love. Sometimes, when we're in the middle of life's struggles, it's hard to see purpose. The road feels endless, and hope feels distant. But when you pause and look back, you begin to see that even in your darkest seasons, God was there. You see how what once felt like chaos was actually grace in disguise. You see how what seemed like endings were actually beginnings. You see how pain became the soil for something stronger to grow. The journey is not just about where you're going. It's also about who you're becoming along the way. God's desire has never been to rush you to the destination, but to walk with you through the transformation. He uses time, struggle, and faith to shape your spirit. The detours you didn't plan were not mistakes. They were part of a divine rerouting towards something greater than you could imagine. Every season has its purpose, and even the waiting has worth. Look at the road ahead of you with hope, but also take time to honor the road behind you. There are lessons buried in your past that continue to bless your present. There are moments you thought you wouldn't survive, yet you did. There are prayers that went unanswered, but in their silence, your heart learned to listen differently. And through it all, you've grown not by escaping pain, but by walking through it with faith. When you acknowledge your journey, you begin to see God not just as a distant ruler, but as a traveling companion. He has walked beside you through laughter and loss, through confusion and clarity. He's the steady presence when everything else changes. Even when you wandered, He waited. Even when you fell, He lifted you. Even when you doubted, He remained faithful. There has never been a single step you've taken outside His reach. Some of the most sacred parts of your journey are the ones that seemed silent. Those long nights of uncertainty, those quiet prayers whispered through tears, those were the moments heaven drew closest. God was not absent when you struggled. He was working quietly within you, building strength you couldn't see yet. He was turning pain into purpose, weakness into wisdom. Every hidden moment mattered. Sometimes you might look at others' journeys and wonder why yours has been harder or slower or different. But comparison steals the beauty of your story. No two paths are meant to be the same. The road God designed for you is deeply personal, perfectly timed, and shaped for your soul. There are things He's teaching you through your unique experiences that no one else could learn in quite the same way. Your journey is not behind or ahead, it's right on time. There will be seasons when the road feels long, when the horizon seems out of reach, and when all you can do is take the next small step. But that's enough. You don't need to run. You only need to keep walking. God measures progress not by speed, but by surrender. Each moment you choose faith over fear, trust over control, love over bitterness. You are moving forward. You are becoming more like Him. Acknowledge also the beauty of the present. This very moment right now is part of your sacred journey. It's easy to live in the past or worry about the future, but God meets you in the now. The present is where peace lives. It's where gratitude takes root. Every breath, every heartbeat, every sunrise is a gift, a reminder that life is still unfolding. You don't have to rush. You only have to be present and aware of the grace that surrounds you. When you stop to reflect on your journey, you might notice how God's faithfulness threads through it all like golden light. You'll see how He's turned ashes into beauty, mourning into joy, weakness into strength. You'll realize that what once felt like detours were actually divine directions, leading you closer to Him. You'll see that even your unanswered prayers were answered in ways you couldn't have planned. God's guidance is rarely about perfection. It's about transformation. Think about the promise in Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. Those words are not distant or abstract. They are alive in your story. Even when you didn't know what was next, God did. His plans have been unfolding quietly, sometimes in ways that only make sense in hindsight. What felt like loss was often preparation. What felt like delay was often protection. And what felt like an ending was often the beginning of something more eternal. Your journey is not over. There are still mountains to climb and new paths to discover. There will be laughter and sorrow, victory and surrender. But through it all, you can walk with confidence, because the same God who brought you this far will carry you forward. You don't have to fear what's ahead because you've already seen His faithfulness behind you. The past is proof of His presence, and the future is secure in His hands. Tonight, as you rest, take a moment to breathe and thank God for your journey. Thank Him for the lessons, the people, the seasons, the detours, and the grace that has carried you. You are here because His love never failed you. You are stronger, wiser, and more grounded than you were before. You have been shaped by mercy, held by grace, and led by light. Acknowledging your journey as an act of worship, it's saying, Lord, I see you in all of it, in the joy and the pain, in the waiting and the wondering. It's choosing to trust that even when you don't understand, He's still writing a story worth living. Every page, every step, every breath has purpose. So tonight, rest in that truth. Your journey is holy. Your path is known. Your story is not finished. And though you may not know what tomorrow holds, you can rest in the peace of knowing who holds tomorrow. The God who began this good work in you will be faithful to complete it. You are not walking in circles. You are walking in purpose. You are not lost. You are being led. And as you look back over the miles you've come, may your heart fill with gratitude, for through every high and low, every trial and triumph, you have never walked alone. The Lord, your shepherd, has been guiding your journey all along. There are wounds we carry, that no one else can see, those quiet aches buried deep beneath our smiles. The unspoken grief that lingers even when life seems to move on. Emotional pain has a way of hiding in the corners of the heart, whispering that we're still broken, that we're not enough, that healing is too far away. But God sees every hidden tear, every quiet ache, every unspoken prayer for peace. He knows the weight you carry, and He invites you to bring it to Him, not to fix yourself first, but to rest in His compassion, exactly as you are. Emotional healing doesn't happen overnight. It's not a quick process or a single prayer that makes everything better. It's a journey of gentle restoration, where the Spirit works slowly, layer by layer, healing the wounds that time alone cannot reach. Sometimes healing begins with honesty, with letting yourself finally admit that you're hurting. For so long, you may have learned to suppress the pain, to stay strong, to keep moving. But God never asked you to pretend. He invites you to be real. He invites you to bring the full truth of your heart to Him. Even when it trembles, there's freedom in letting your heart be seen by the one who created it. When you lay your burdens before God, you're not showing Him something He doesn't already know. You're giving Him permission to enter those places you've guarded for too long. Healing begins there. In the honesty of surrender, the Psalms are full of raw emotion. David's cries of fear, grief, and longing remind us that vulnerability is not weakness, it's worship. When you pour out your heart to God, you're not being faithless, you're being faithful. You're choosing to trust Him with your pain. God's love is not afraid of your emotions. He doesn't recoil from your anger, confusion, or sadness. He holds space for it all. In His presence, you don't have to filter your words or hide your doubts. You can speak freely. And He listens with patience and tenderness. Emotional healing often begins when we stop running from our pain and start resting in His love. It's in that stillness that the Spirit begins to soothe what's raw and restless inside us. Healing also comes through grace, through allowing yourself to be forgiven and to forgive others. Unforgiveness binds the heart. It chains us to the pain of the past. But grace releases those chains. When you choose to forgive, it's not saying that what happened was right. It's saying that you no longer want it to control you. You're letting God take the weight. Forgiveness doesn't erase the past, but it transforms the way you carry it. It turns bitterness into peace, anger into understanding, and sorrow into strength. There are wounds caused by loss, by people who left, by love that faded, by dreams that never came true. These losses leave empty spaces that words can't fill. But God doesn't rush you through grief. He walks with you through it. He comforts those who mourn not by taking the pain away immediately, but by sitting with them in it, whispering hope into the quiet. Over team, His comfort softens the edges of sorrow until what once felt unbearable begins to feel bearable again. Emotional healing also requires gentleness toward yourself. Sometimes, we're our own harshest critics. We replay old mistakes, hold ourselves to impossible standards, and forget that we, too, are humans still learning, still growing, still being shaped by grace. God doesn't look at you with disappointment. He looks at you with love. You are not your past. You are not your pain. You are His beloved. And He delights in your heart. Even when it's mending, there will be moments when healing feels slow, when old wounds ache again, and you wonder if you'll ever feel whole. But healing isn't linear. Some days you'll feel light and free. Other days you'll feel like you're starting over. That's okay. The process is holy. The same God who began to heal you will continue His work until peace becomes your steady rhythm again. Don't measure your progress by how much pain you no longer feel, but by how deeply you're learning to trust God with it. Sometimes, God brings healing through others, through a kind word, a prayer, a hug, or a simple reminder that you're not alone. Community can be a vessel of God's compassion, reflecting His tenderness through human hands and hearts. Let others love you. Let yourself be seen, known, and supported. Healing often happens in connection, not isolation. And sometimes, healing comes through silence, through nights when you can't find the words to pray. But the Spirit intercedes with sighs, too deep for words, through moments when all you can do is breathe and know that God is near. Emotional healing doesn't always feel like triumph. It often feels like quiet endurance, like resting in the truth that you are still loved in the middle of your pain. When God heals, He doesn't just patch the surface. He renews from the inside out. He transforms wounds into wisdom, pain into compassion, scars into strength. The very places that once hurt the most can become the places where His glory shines brightest. The same heart that once broke can become the heart that helps others heal. If you look closely, you might begin to see that healing isn't the absence of pain, it's the presence of peace. It's the gentle assurance that even though you've been wounded, you're still whole in Him. That your story, no matter how broken, is still sacred. That your tears are not wasted. They are seeds that water new beginnings. And so, breathe. Rest your heart tonight in the promise that healing is happening. Even now, it may be slow, it may be unseen, but it's real. The God who mends the brokenhearted is mending you, too, every time you choose to hope again, to love again, to rise again. Healing takes another step forward. Let your heart be still in His presence. Let His love reach the places that words can't. Let His peace settle where fear once lived. You don't have to force your healing. It's already unfolding. Gently, faithfully, under the care of the One who knows your heart better than anyone else ever could. Relationships are one of the most beautiful and complicated parts of being human. They have the power to bring us joy, connection, and strength, but they can also wound us deeply. Words spoken in anger, misunderstandings left unresolved, pride that keeps us silent, all of these things can create distance between hearts that once walked closely together. Yet even in the midst of division and pain, God calls us toward reconciliation. He is, after all, the God who mends what is broken, who builds bridges where walls once stood. Reconciliation is not always easy. It requires humility, patience, and courage. It means being willing to see the other person not through the lens of your hurt, but through the eyes of grace. Sometimes, the hardest part is taking the first step, reaching out when it feels safer to withdraw. But love always moves first. God showed us that when He reached toward humanity, even in our rebellion, sending His Son to restore the relationship that sin had shattered. If He could bridge the gap between heaven and earth, He can surely help us bridge the gaps that exist between one another. Healing relationships begins with a softening of the heart. It starts when we choose to let go of the need to be right, and instead focus on the need to be whole. Pride often disguises itself as protection, convincing us that holding a grudge keeps us safe. But bitterness doesn't protect, it poisons. it slowly hardens the heart, making it harder to love, harder to trust, harder to feel. God invites us to let go of that weight, to release the anger and disappointment we've been holding, and to allow His love to cleanse those wounds. Sometimes, forgiveness has to happen even when reconciliation cannot, when the other person is unwilling or unable to meet you halfway. But forgiveness is still for you. It's an act of freedom, not weakness. It's choosing to no longer let the past define your peace. When you forgive, you're not erasing the wrong. You're surrendering the pain to God and trusting Him with the justice that's beyond your control. In time, that act of forgiveness opens space for grace to breathe again. Rebuilding relationships also means learning to listen. Real listening is more than hearing words. It's seeking to understand the heart behind them. It's being slow to speak, slow to anger, and quick to show empathy. Sometimes people don't need solutions. They just need to be heard. When we listen with compassion, we invite healing into conversations that were once closed by defensiveness. Love doesn't demand to be understood first. It seeks to understand. Relationships thrive when they are rooted in humility. Humility says, I could be wrong. It allows room for growth, for learning, for healing. It breaks the cycle of blame and opens the door for peace. In humility, we remember that every person we meet is also a soul loved by God, flawed, fragile, and in need of grace. Just like us, when we approach others from that perspective, compassion flows naturally. There are times when bridges take time to rebuild. Some connections require distance before reconciliation can take place. God sometimes works in the silence between people, softening hearts in ways we can't see. That's why patience is part of love. The Holy Spirit is often at work behind the scenes, preparing the right moment for healing conversations. Trust that timing. Pray for the courage to reach out when that moment comes, and for wisdom to know when to wait. Restoring relationships also requires honesty, the kind that's gentle but true. It means acknowledging the pain without letting it define the future. When truth is spoken in love, it carries power. It can expose what's broken without shattering what remains. Healing words don't accuse. They invite understanding. They remind both hearts that reconciliation isn't about winning. It's about becoming whole again. And as you seek to mend relationships with others, remember that God is also healing your relationship with yourself. Sometimes the person you need to forgive is you, the version of you who said the wrong thing, who made mistakes, who didn't know better. You cannot build peace outwardly while carrying self-condemnation inwardly. God's grace extends to every corner of your being. As you receive it, you'll find it easier to extend that same grace to others. When love leads, peace follows. A relationship grounded in God's love can endure storms, misunderstandings, and long silences, because love doesn't depend on perfection, it depends on presence. It shows up again and again. Even when things are messy, it chooses reconciliation over resentment. It chooses tenderness over pride. Perhaps there's someone in your life tonight who comes to mind, someone you've drifted away from, someone whose name still stirs something in your heart. Maybe you're not ready to reach out yet. That's okay. Start with prayer. Ask God to bless them, to heal them, to soften both of your hearts. Sometimes prayer is the first bridge. Even if words never pass between you again, prayer has the power to mend what's unseen, to lift the weight of unspoken grief, to plant peace where conflict once grew. And when the time is right, may you have the courage to rebuild, to write that message, make that call, or simply forgive in silence, because love is worth the effort. Relationships, no matter how fractured, can be restored by the same hands that shaped the universe. God specializes in redemption. He restores what was lost, renews what was broken, and reminds us that reconciliation is not just possible, it's holy. So let your heart be open to peace tonight. Let grace flow freely through you, bridging the spaces between hearts, between past and present, between pain and hope. Love doesn't erase the past, but it transforms it, weaving even the hardest moments into a story of grace and healing. Where there once was distance, may there now be understanding. Where there once was silence, may there now be peace. And where there once was pain, may love build a bridge strong enough to carry you both toward wholeness again. There is a quiet art to being present, to resting the mind from its constant wandering, and simply being aware of this very moment. In a world that moves fast, where worries about tomorrow or regrets from yesterday can fill every corner of thought, mindfulness becomes a spiritual act. It is not about emptying the mind, but about refocusing it, centering it on God's presence here and now. Peaceful mindfulness invites the soul to pause and breathe, to release the noise of the day and listen to the gentle whisper of the Spirit that says, "Be still, I am with you." True peace doesn't come from perfect circumstances. It grows in the heart that learns to find God in every moment, whether that moment is calm or chaotic. The mind that is stayed on God, as the prophet Isaiah said, is kept in perfect peace. But to live with that kind of peace, we must learn to slow down. We must learn to notice the air filling our lungs, the steady rhythm of our breath, the quiet strength that comes when we remember we are held by the Creator of all things. Each breath becomes a reminder of His nearness, each heartbeat an echo of His faithfulness. Peaceful mindfulness begins with awareness of God's presence. You are never alone, even in silence. In fact, it's often in silence that you realize just how close He has always been. When you take time to pause, to let your thoughts settle like sand, sinking to the bottom of still water, you begin to see clearly again. You begin to hear His voice, not through the rush of words, but through the calm assurance of His peace. This kind of mindfulness is not about striving to feel spiritual. It's about resting in the truth that God is already here. He is in the ordinary, the quiet hum of evening, the glow of the fading sun, the soft stillness after prayer. To practice peaceful mindfulness is to train your heart to see Him everywhere. Even in your busyness, Even in your weariness, His peace is available, waiting to fill the spaces that anxiety tries to claim. There's a beauty in simplicity when we learn to quiet the noise around us. Even just for a few moments, we begin to sense what really matters. We realize how often our minds race ahead, planning, predicting, and worrying about things we can't control. But in the stillness, God whispers reminders. You don't have to have it all figured out. You don't have to carry it all alone. Those words, if you let them sink in, have the power to reshape your entire perspective. Mindfulness through faith is not about controlling your thoughts. It's about surrendering them. It's about saying, God, here I am, fully present before you. Help me rest my mind in your peace. That prayer itself becomes a sacred rhythm, one that draws you back from distraction and grounds you in divine calm. As you focus on His word, on His promises, and on His goodness, you begin to see how every moment can become an offering of trust. Peaceful mindfulness also teaches us to guard our thoughts. The Apostle Paul wrote that whatever is true, noble, right, pure, lovely, and praiseworthy, these are the things we should dwell on. It's not always easy, especially when negative thoughts come rushing in. But every time you choose to shift your focus toward what is good, you are building a habit of peace. You are choosing not to let fear write your story. You are choosing to let grace shape your mind. Sometimes peace comes not in the absence of thought, but in the redirection of it. When anxiety begins to rise, take a moment to breathe deeply and whisper, Lord, you are my peace. Repeat it until your heart believes it. Each breath becomes a prayer. Each pause a surrender. Slowly, the tension begins to fade, replaced by the quiet strength of His presence. Mindfulness is also gratitude in motion. When you are aware of the present, you begin to see blessings that once went unnoticed. The small kindnesses, the laughter, the light breaking through the clouds. Gratitude shifts the heart from scarcity to abundance, from restlessness to contentment. It reminds you that peace isn't something to chase, it's something to recognize. It's already here, flowing from the heart of a God who gives freely and endlessly. There will be moments when your mind resists stillness, when the noise inside feels too loud to quiet. Don't fight it. Invite God into it. Let Him meet you right where your thoughts wander. He is not waiting for your mind to be perfect. He meets you in the middle of your distractions and gently guides you back to peace. In that process, you'll learn that mindfulness is not about mastering silence. It's about allowing grace to fill even the noisy places. As you practice this awareness of God, you'll begin to notice subtle changes. The things that once overwhelmed you lose their power. The worries that once consumed your mind begin to shrink in the light of His truth. You find yourself responding to life with patience instead of panic, compassion instead of criticism. Peace becomes not just something you feel, but something you carry. It radiates from within you, touching every part of your life. And when night falls and the world grows still, This peaceful mindfulness becomes a kind of prayer. As you lie in the quiet, let your last thoughts be of gratitude. Your last breath of the day, a surrender to His care. Rest in the knowledge that God is with you in every moment past, present, and future. You are safe in His hands, and nothing can separate you from His peace. In the calm of this moment, breathe deeply and let your soul remember peace is not far away. It's right here, within reach, flowing from the heart of God into yours. All you have to do is be still, open, and aware. Let His presence fill your thoughts, and let your thoughts rest in Him. In this sacred stillness, you are whole, you are loved, you are at peace. There is something profoundly human about waiting the quiet stretch between what is and what will be. It's in that waiting, that space where answers haven't yet come, that hope becomes more than just an emotion. It becomes an act of faith. Hopeful anticipation isn't naive optimism. It's not pretending everything is fine when it's not. It's the steady, grounded trust that God is working behind the scenes. Even when the surface of your life looks still, it's learning to breathe in the not yet moments with peace instead of panic. Choosing to believe that what's unfolding is purposeful, even if it's not yet clear. When we practice hopeful anticipation, we shift our focus from the outcome to the presence of God within the process. Waiting no longer feels like punishment. It becomes preparation. Every unanswered prayer, every delayed door, every silent season is a shaping tool in the hands of a loving Creator. The Israelites wandered for 40 years before reaching the Promised Land, not because God forgot them, but because He was forming them. The waiting was not wasted. It never is. There's courage in hope. It takes strength to keep expecting when nothing seems to change. Yet that is where faith lives, not in the arrival of blessings, but in the endurance of belief. The world often equates hope with results, but biblical hope is anchored in relationship. You don't hope because of what you can see. You hope because of who you know. God's faithfulness is not seasonal. It's not limited to the moments when everything works in your favor. It's constant, even in silence. This kind of hope doesn't deny reality. It transforms how you see it. The pain, the delay, the uncertainty, they remain, but they lose their power to define you. Hopeful anticipation reframes suffering into spiritual growth. It reminds you that today's unanswered question may be tomorrow's revelation. And while you wait, you are not alone. God's presence walks with you, steady and unseen, through every valley of uncertainty. Hope, at its core, is trust stretched across time. It's waking up each day believing that your story is still being written, not in chaos, but in divine order. It's the willingness to open your hands and let go of control, allowing grace to fill the space that fear once occupied. When you live with hopeful anticipation, you no longer dread the future. You lean toward it with quiet confidence. In those long, quiet nights when anxiety creeps in, remind yourself the waiting is not empty. God is weaving threads of mercy through every delay, every pause, every closed door. There's purpose in the tension. Maybe what you're hoping for is still on its way, or maybe God is reshaping your desires to fit His greater vision for you. Either way, hope is never wasted. It's the language of trust, spoken in the dark. Hopeful anticipation allows you to live in gratitude for what is, while still longing for what could be. It holds both reality and promise in the same breath. It says, I don't know how this will turn out, but I trust that it will be good. That's not denial. That's faith with roots deep enough to endure drought. And when the waiting finally ends, when the door opens, when the prayer is answered, when the light breaks through, you realize that the beauty of hope wasn't just in the fulfillment, but in the journey itself. The process taught you patience, trust, and surrender. You learned to rest in God's timing, to believe in His promises even when they seemed far away. That's the quiet miracle of hopeful anticipation. It doesn't just prepare you for the future, it transforms who you are in the present. It teaches your soul to rest before the outcome arrives, to find peace before resolution. You become grounded, not in circumstances, but in faith. So tonight, as you exhale and release the day, let hope rise again, not as wishful thinking, but as sacred trust. Let your heart soften in the waiting. The God who began a good work in you is not done yet. The dawn will come, just as it always does. And when it does, you'll look back and see that even in the waiting, even in the silence, you were being held by grace all along. There's a quiet paradox in the way God works, that our greatest strength often emerges from our deepest weakness. The world teaches us to hide our flaws, to mask our pain, and to appear strong no matter what. But in the kingdom of God, it's the opposite. True strength is not about perfection or control. It's about surrender. It's about standing before God with empty hands and saying, I can't do this on my own. And in that moment of honesty, grace rushes in. Weakness doesn't make you less. It makes room for something greater than yourself. When you come to the end of your own ability, you finally begin to see how God's power fills the gaps. The Apostle Paul understood this deeply when he wrote, My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Those words aren't just comforting, they're transformative. They shift the focus from self-reliance to divine dependence, from striving to surrender. To be human is to struggle. We face days when our energy runs dry, when faith feels fragile, when hope flickers like a small candle in the wind. But even then, God doesn't turn away. He meets us right in the middle of our exhaustion. Strength in weakness isn't about pushing through with gritted teeth. It's about allowing yourself to rest in God's sustaining presence. It's about realizing that your limitations are not failures. They're invitations for grace to work. There's a deep beauty in vulnerability. When we stop pretending that we're invincible, we make space for authentic connection with others and with God. It's in those raw, unfiltered moments of weakness that compassion takes root. You begin to understand others' pain more deeply because you've lived it yourself. The wounds you once hid become the very vessels through which healing can flow, both for you and for those who walk beside you. God never asked you to be unbreakable. He asked you to trust Him in your breaking. He uses the cracks in your armor to let His light shine through. The strength that comes from this kind of weakness is different. It's quiet, steady, enduring. It's not the loud confidence of self-assurance, but the gentle assurance of knowing that you are held. There's something profoundly freeing about admitting your weakness before God. You no longer have to carry the burden of pretending. You don't have to have all the answers, fix every problem, or always be okay. You simply have to show up tired, uncertain, even trembling, and let His strength carry you where yours cannot. That's the heart of faith, not confidence in your ability, but confidence in His faithfulness. In those moments when life feels heavy and you can't take another step, remember this: God never wastes pain. The struggle you're in may be shaping resilience you'll need for what's ahead. The tears you cry may water the ground for future growth. Every weakness becomes a sacred space for His power to dwell. And the more you release, the more He restores. Sometimes, the greatest strength you can show is simply staying present, choosing not to give up. Even when your soul feels weary, strength in weakness looks like taking one more breath, one more step, whispering one more prayer. It's found not in the absence of pain, but in the quiet endurance that trusts God is still working. As you reflect on your journey, you may begin to see that your weakest seasons were the very times God's presence felt most near. When everything else fell away, He remained. When your own efforts failed, His love held firm. Strength in weakness means living in that awareness that you are never alone, even when life feels too heavy to bear. Let that truth settle deep into your heart. Your worth is not measured by how strong you appear, but by how fully you rely on the one who strengthens you. Weakness doesn't disqualify you. It draws you closer to the source of all power. It's where pride gives way to humility, and striving gives way to surrender. So tonight, if you feel worn or fragile, remember this is not the end of your strength. It's the beginning of His. In every trembling moment, in every sigh of exhaustion, grace is already there, lifting you, holding you, renewing you, because in your weakness, God is not disappointed. He is near. And that nearness, that divine presence, is the truest strength you will ever know. There is a kind of confidence that doesn't need to shout. It doesn't need to prove, to compare, or to demand recognition. It moves softly, rooted not in pride, but in peace. Quiet confidence comes from knowing who you are in God deeply, securely, unshakably. It's not the loud assurance that seeks validation from others, but the calm steadiness that flows from trust. When your identity is anchored in divine love, you no longer have to fight for worth. You simply live from it. The world often teaches us that confidence is about performance, how you look, what you achieve, how others perceive you. But true confidence is not built on achievements that can fade. It's built on truth that never changes. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. You are seen, chosen, and loved beyond condition. When that truth takes root in your spirit, you begin to walk differently. You carry peace instead of pressure. You speak with grace instead of fear. You trust the process. Even when the path ahead is unclear, quiet confidence is not arrogance. It's humility dressed in assurance. It knows its source. It doesn't need to compete because it understands that every person walks their own sacred path. You don't need to rush or compare when you know that God's timing for your life is perfect. You can move slowly, intentionally, knowing that what's meant for you won't pass you by. You can rest in the certainty that your worth doesn't fluctuate with others' opinions. This confidence grows in silence, in the still moments where you remember who holds your future. It's in those quiet prayers whispered in the dark. The moments when doubt tries to creep in, but faith answers gently. God is with me. That's where quiet confidence is born. It's not built in applause or success, but in surrender. It's choosing peace when fear would rather panic. Trusting God's hand when your own understanding fails. Quiet confidence allows you to face uncertainty without anxiety. You don't need all the answers to move forward. You simply need faith to take the next step, because confidence in God doesn't come from knowing the outcome. It comes from knowing His heart. And His heart is always for you. When you carry this kind of assurance, your presence becomes steady. You become the calm in the storm. Not because life is easy, but because your trust runs deep. People may not understand how you stay so composed when everything feels uncertain. But you know the secret. You've placed your confidence in something eternal. The world can shake, but your foundation stands firm. Quiet confidence doesn't boast. It blesses. It doesn't dominate. It uplifts. It speaks truth with gentleness, power with compassion. It's a reflection of divine strength expressed through grace. You can walk into any room not needing to take up space, but naturally filling it with peace. That kind of presence comes from a soul at rest. There will still be days when insecurity whispers, when fear tries to pull you back into old patterns of doubt. But quiet confidence reminds you you don't need to have it all figured out. You don't have to be perfect to be loved. You are already enough because the one who made you says so. That truth is your shield, your grounding, your strength. When life tests your patience, when plans fall apart, or when others misunderstand you, return to that inner stillness. Breathe. Remember that confidence is not control, it's surrender. It's the courage to keep showing up, to keep believing, to keep loving even when outcomes are uncertain. You are held by a power far greater than circumstance, and that knowledge frees you to live with quiet assurance. The beauty of quiet confidence is that it doesn't demand attention, yet it draws others in. People are naturally drawn to peace, and when they see it in you, they're seeing a reflection of God's steady hand. It's a confidence that comforts rather than intimidates, that listens rather than lectures. It's a light that doesn't flash, it simply shines. So walk gently, but firmly. Speak softly, but with conviction. Move through each day with the quiet confidence that you are guided, supported, and loved beyond measure. You don't need to rush, prove, or pretend. You only need to trust, because when your confidence rests in God, it will never crumble. It will only grow deeper, quieter, and stronger with time. Gratitude is a quiet, powerful force that changes the way we see the world. It turns the ordinary into extraordinary, the routine into sacred, and the fleeting moment into something eternal. When you slow down enough to reflect on the blessings around you, even the smallest ones, your heart begins to soften, and peace gently takes root. Reflective gratitude isn't about ignoring pain or pretending that everything is perfect. It's about recognizing that goodness still exists, even in the middle of struggle. It's about seeing light glimmering softly in the places where darkness once ruled. Every day brings with it a collection of moments that are easy to overlook: a breath taken without effort, a friend's kind word, the quiet hum of life that surrounds you. Gratitude invites you to pause and notice them. It asks you to trade hurry for awareness, complaint for appreciation. It's not about what's missing, but about what's already here. In the stillness of reflection, your soul becomes aware of how intricately God has woven grace into the fabric of your daily life. When you begin to live with reflective gratitude, your perspective shifts. You stop chasing perfection and start embracing presence. You start seeing blessings not as rewards for performance, but as gentle reminders of divine love. You start to understand that even in seasons of waiting or loss, gratitude can coexist with longing. It doesn't erase pain, it redeems it. It helps you find meaning where there was once only confusion. Take a moment and think of the simple things that sustained you today: the warmth of sunlight on your skin, the sound of laughter from someone you love, the quiet comfort of being alive. These moments are not random. They are gifts. And when you name them, when you give thanks for them, something inside you changes. Gratitude opens a doorway to joy. It helps you see that abundance isn't measured in possessions or achievements, but in awareness, in your ability to see grace at work, even when life feels uncertain. Reflective gratitude also helps you look backward with peace. There may be chapters in your life filled with pain, disappointment, or regret, but gratitude transforms how you remember them. It allows you to see how even in the hardest moments, you were carried. It reveals how lessons emerge from loss, how strength was forged in weakness, how faith deepened in waiting. Gratitude brings healing to memory because it replaces bitterness with perspective. It says, "I may not have understood it then, but now I see God's hand in it." When you cultivate gratitude, anxiety begins to lose its grip. Worry thrives on what's missing. Gratitude thrives on what's given. When your heart is thankful, it's hard for fear to take control. You begin to find rest in the present moment, knowing that each breath, each heartbeat, is a testament to divine care. Gratitude doesn't demand that everything be perfect. It simply invites you to trust that you already have enough for now. There's beauty in the practice of slowing down to count your blessings, not in a rushed or routine way, but with reflection to really feel the goodness behind them. Maybe it's the way someone forgave you when you didn't deserve it. Maybe it's the way peace found you in a storm, or how love reached you in a moment of loneliness. Gratitude allows you to relive those mercies and see how deeply you've been loved all along. When gratitude becomes a rhythm of your life, it spills outward. It shapes how you treat others, how you speak, how you move through your days. You become more patient, more compassionate, more aware of the sacredness in every soul you meet. Gratitude doesn't just change how you feel, it changes how you live. It frees you from the endless cycle of comparison and teaches you to rejoice in the blessings that others receive. 2. In the quiet moments before sleep, when the noise of the day fades away, gratitude becomes a song that settles your spirit. You can rest, not because everything is resolved, but because you know you're held. You can whisper a simple thank you for breath, for love, for grace, for another day to begin again. That small act becomes a doorway to peace. Reflective gratitude is not a one-time feeling. It's a way of seeing. It's a posture of the heart that finds beauty in imperfection, hope in uncertainty, and blessing in every season. It's remembering that every sunrise is a second chance, and every heartbeat is a reminder that you are still here, still growing, still loved. As you continue your journey, carry this gentle truth with you. Gratitude is not reserved for the mountaintop moments. It's for the valley, too. It's for the in-between, the ordinary, the quiet. It's for every breath that whispers, I am alive, and God is good. When you live with reflective gratitude, peace will no longer be something you chase. It will become something you carry. And in that still, thankful awareness, your soul will finally rest. As the day comes to an end and the world begins to quiet, there is a gentle invitation waiting for your soul to rest in peace that surpasses all understanding. This peace is not found in the absence of trouble, but in the nearness of God. It is the calm that steadies your heart when life feels uncertain, the stillness that settles your mind when thoughts run wild. It is the deep assurance that you are safe, held, and loved beyond measure. In this sacred moment, you can release every burden, every fear, and every anxious thought into the hands of the one who never sleeps. Peace is not something you have to chase or earn. It is something you receive. It flows like a quiet river from the heart of God, washing over the weary places in your spirit. It softens the edges of worry and fills the hollow spaces of sorrow with comfort. When you breathe in slowly, you can almost feel that peace filling your lungs, gentle, steady, real. It does not come from the world. It comes from heaven itself, whispered softly into your being as a reminder. Be still. You are mine. In the soft rhythm of nightfall, peace becomes a sanctuary. The noise fades. The lights dim, and your heart begins to listen again. The worries that once shouted for attention now grow faint. Like echoes in the distance, you no longer need to hold everything together, because the one who created you is holding you now. You are free to rest, to breathe, to simply be. In this peace, there is no judgment, no striving, only grace, wrapping around you like a warm blanket against the chill of the world. The blessing of peace is not just for this moment. It is a gift that follows you through every season. It whispers to you in the morning when new challenges await, reminding you that you are not alone. It anchors you when storms arise, keeping your soul steady when everything around you feels uncertain. It guides your steps through decisions, disappointments, and dreams alike, assuring you that even when you don't see the path, God does. Peace is not fragile. It is strong and enduring because it is rooted in divine love. It does not shatter under pressure or fade with circumstance. It is the same peace that carried Jesus through the storm, the same peace that comforted his followers when the world turned against them. That same peace is yours right here, right now. It lives within you, quietly but powerfully, like a light that no darkness can overcome. When you choose peace, you choose trust. You choose to believe that God's hand is steady, even when your own feels weak. You choose to release control, to stop fighting what you cannot change, and to rest in the truth that you are safe in His care. Peace teaches you that surrender is not defeat. It is freedom. It is the moment your heart stops resisting and starts receiving. Let this peace settle over every part of you, your thoughts, your breath, your spirit. Let it remind you that there is nothing you need to prove tonight, nothing more you must do. You have done enough. You are enough. The Creator who spoke the stars into being is also the keeper of your soul. He watches over you as you rest, surrounding you with a peace that will not fade when morning comes. As you close your eyes, picture that peace spreading gently through your mind like light breaking through the clouds after a long storm. Each thought that once brought worry begins to quiet. Each memory that carried pain begins to soften. You are safe. You are seen. You are loved. The presence of God is near, closer than your next breath, filling you with a calm assurance that everything is held in His perfect care. This benediction of peace is more than words. It is a promise. The Lord blesses you and keeps you. His face shines upon you with grace that never runs dry. His peace does not visit for a moment. It dwells within you, guiding you into each new day with courage and calm. No matter what tomorrow holds, this peace will remain. It will guard your heart, steady your steps, and remind you that you are never without hope. So rest now, beloved soul. Let the day go. Let the noise fade into silence. Let your spirit sink deep into stillness, knowing that peace is not a destination, but a presence, the living, loving presence of God surrounding you in every breath. The night may be quiet, but heaven is near. You are safe beneath the shadow of His wings, and His peace, perfect, eternal, and unshakable, will keep you until morning light.